from an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people, the 2024 presidential campaign leading eggs time to return all US land back to their rightful owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast.
Techno-communism.
Back to the Futurism Podcast. I'm Ben Zion, your host, and thank you for joining me this wonderful January day. Last time that we spoke, just about 48 hours ago, for me, I talked a little bit about what I think is a likely path to human enhancement and human enrichment on a broad scale, which are the same thing. If you have one person, 10 people, Peter Thiel and Ray Kurzweil, who are able to live 1,000 years, go off-world and do their own thing, and nobody else is, that's not any improvement for the species. I genuinely feel that there's no way to do things like super longevity or like super intelligence without doing them for everyone together all at once. You can't even theorize what it looks like to do it the capitalist way, the Peter Thiel way, Ray Kurzweil way. You can't. They try, and they're just like, these people. It ends with pitchforks, and it ends in slower time frame, and not in your, i.e., not in your lifetime. That's the operative word for most of these people, and that is why, I'm wearing a shirt that says RAAD, suggesting a organization for the revolution against aging and death. And I've been to a couple of their meetings and events, and I haven't met anyone there who wasn't selling some kind of snake oil or buying some kind of snake oil, literally. So I probably won't go again. But nevertheless, it's worth saying that there can be a revolution against aging and death. Not ashamed to wear a shirt, but the community itself leaves a lot to be desired. But people who believe this sort of thing, why are they these elitists? Why are they buying just products that just sawdust pills and things, and supporting nothing beyond that? Everybody in the world, but particularly in the West, and most particularly in the United States, a country that has a specific kind of propagandizing mechanism employed against its citizenry, everybody in the world has really, really bad habit, which is a kind of a go along to get along mentality. These people who would seem to be elitists, or people who are just pissing money away, now are all also elitists. That should be clear. This isn't just a harmless folly. These are people who would also overwhelmingly support this country not having a public health service. They want to live forever. At the same time, it will do not lift a single finger, effectively, to see that their cousin might live to ripe old age. Their cousin might survive to a universal super longevity outcome. But why are people like this? Well, I could talk about those propagandizing machines, specifically three-letter agency operations that force people into that position in the U.S. But the go along to get along mentality is something relatively simple. People. I'm going to talk about the ideas of Christian transhumanism briefly, in this conversation, and people, about 100 people have asked me this. What's your deal, man? What are you, some kind of Mormon or something? What's with the Zion? And the, this a transhumanist is somebody who believes that the human form and all that that entails could be done away with and re-envisioned. So for someone to ask me about my background or about or gender matters. So there are a lot of transgender and people who are LGBTA positive in the pretty reasonably positive in this community of tech bros and futurists and thinkers of this kind. But it's not the number that you would expect. It's about the same number as the general population in the West. It's not the number that you would expect of people who want to change their bodies completely. If you are not too excited about having the same body, and that is the essential idea of transhumanism, that people think that they can transcend the physical form to something greater, which entails an incredible change. You know, I'll tell you about a television show that I'm watching that describes some of this in a moment. But if you believe that, these people should overwhelmingly be identifying as agender, as a pretty specific variant of transgender identity. But again, like 10% of them or something. So this is the same thing with the more elitist attitudes. There's an incredible amount of conservative patter among these people, an incredible amount of apathy and acceptance of capitalist class institutions among these people. And none of them really think that capitalism will survive the set of changes that they hope for. But they are all hedging their bets. They all see that they live in the United States. They live in the imperial core, outlying regions, the other countries of the fascist West, the EU, and so forth. And they don't want to. They know that if the Marxist tech accelerationists win, which seems quite likely to them, they probably won't be completely out of the thing, because everyone, by definition, is uplifted, as I've said. But as the capitalists in the Western world continue to win for now, then they're sitting pretty either way. And just as a segue to talking about Christianity and tech accelerationism, that mindset is exactly the same. There's no one who is really willing or able to go beyond a very surface level and this kind of pre-programmed Western set of values that you can't challenge, and none of it makes very much sense. Somebody says to me from a very young age, "Hey Ben, Jesus lives in your heart." And you say, "Whoa, that doesn't sound real." But if you say that aloud, that's not a credible statement. Then what happens? And somebody starts crying. Somebody else starts yelling at you. So you say, whoa. I guess Jesus lives in my heart. I'll accept this extremely dumb thing because I have to go along to get along. And you cannot find very many things in among the capitalist class accepted truths that um, um, don't basically fall under this. You know, it's it's scientific fact that um, every quarter something happens, like all of the crabs in the ocean, all of the snow crabs, the population collapses. Every quarter we found out some disturbing news, like rainwater will never be drank again. Human beings will never drink rainwater again without being specially treated because of pollution. Every quarter we find out that we've overshot by 1.5 degrees the what would be required for us to lower the temperature of Earth so that uh, so that climate systems don't spiral out of control. Earth become unlivable in the course of the century. We find out these things every quarter, and we know that a relatively simple matter to ban petroleum products and ban livestock systems. These two industries that have contributed to almost all of this problem, and none of these things are being done. There's discussions about doing this with respect to petroleum, and no discussion at all with respect to food products. Even though that every food product can reasonably be replaced by a facsimile that has virtually no environmental impact, no one is doing this. And why? Why is no one doing this? Because in the West, you are taught that you have to accept bad things from the earliest age, and you have to shut your eyes to those things. And once you do that, once you say, it is what it is, as people would do with Jesus lives in your heart, once you say that, I mean, I can't live without a car. You know, obviously everyone can live without a car. Everyone can move into town and take a train. Everyone can ride a bicycle and arrange their life such that they only work a mile away from where they live. Everyone could easily do this, but we are given this crypto-fascist programming from the earliest age, where 100 things that are serious missteps on a large scale we do not stand up against, because you have to stand up against the systems. That is a good deal more important than, I switched from drinking coffee all the time to drinking tea. And, it's a little bit like one of these problems, right? Stopping drinking coffee, aside from that, I'm not as healthy as I could be, so that's part of the reason why I've cut back on stimulants. But not drinking coffee. Coffee is made by slaves, and you can say, "Oh, I make a point of buying fair trade chocolate and coffee." You're still supporting industries that are neo-colonial industries that wherein workers are at best treated very shabbily, and on the whole, it's worse than that. There's literal slavery involved. So just like the environmental impact question, you're not standing against that. You're not even willing to change your lifestyle the smallest amount to see that human dignity and sustainability is honored. And this is every person in the West. Um, and once you accept two or three of these things, it's there's no turning back. You are now a solid supporter of Western fascism. It doesn't matter. Maybe you're wearing a Ushanka, you're still driving around in an SUV, eating cheeseburgers. You might be sometimes saying the right things to the right people, but you are not supporting systemic changes in as thorough going away as you think. And the Western left has been, again, this sort of thing is not an accident. This has been the Western left has been commandeered to you have people who are the biggest streamers on Twitch. I won't start saying these people's names, even though it's tempting to do so, but who are millionaires from talking about left related ideas, but all that they are really doing is co-opting an aesthetic and a few talking points and shoehorning it into liberal class destructive lifestyle, and for the most part trying to completely pervert these ideas in service to a capitalist agenda. I will say one name of these people is a 23-year-old and very handsome guy who Jackson Hinkle, his name, and this is somebody who is one of the more visible personalities of promoting a patriotic, a socialist worldview in the United States. And he's not a socialist. And patriotic socialists are not socialists. These are people who, we can argue that socialism in one country has occurred through patriotic mechanisms all day long, but that's not what's happening here. What's happening is people like Jackson Hinkle get a briefcase full of money from Peter Thiel, and then go on to promote what are carefully crafted CIA talking points to confuse the issues of abolishing private wealth, something that is necessary in those countries that that socialism has taken root. Inroads have been made towards abolishing private wealth. The idea that social democracy is an end in itself for socialists is something that Americans believe, insofar as they will even consider the word socialism, but most of them will not. This is something that these patriotic socialists are trying to do, to confuse people, so that these machines can remain intact. Because whatever may have happened in history, the United States is a fascist country. It takes a tremendous amount of public resources and puts them into things like military contracts, triple billing scoundrels, and most of this is essentially the reason that there is not a public health service, that there is not a housing authority, that there is not a living wage for 65 to 75% of Americans. Americans are paid a slave wage, overwhelmingly. And the reason that we can't have nice things is because of these this kind of theft. And the ruling class, I mentioned that, we have had a kind of automation revolution in the last 150 years. And insofar as that automation revolution has led to an increasing quality of life, that is because of socialists insisting upon that. And insofar as it's failed to do so, that is because of capitalists being able to siphon off those resources. And so when you have anybody who's not promoting a revolutionary agenda, as people focused on religion or any form of nationalism, religion is a form of nationalism. Then and that's what's happening, and that's why somebody, the biggest donor, political donor in tech circles, one of the biggest donors today, Peter Thiel, also the biggest donor in tech circles, the biggest donor in any circles, is this person who just will flagrantly just here's a briefcase, here's $100,000 in a briefcase. you get a briefcase, you get a briefcase, you get a briefcase. But only if you're doing some pretty specific crypto-fascist kind of thing, as Jackson Hinkle and Twitch streamer X and Twitch streamer Y and Twitch streamer Z, who are CIA assets, are doing. Yeah, because is he really in the CIA, Ben? Are you being serious? I'm not. I don't think you're being serious. Palantir was cultivated by the CIA. This person became a figure of influence because willing to play along with this agenda, and became a key person in this agenda. So yeah, there's literally 3-letter agencies that are literally programming people, and you can pretend that that's not true by splitting hairs in some literal job description or no. But that is who all of these kind of people are. Because you won't find a person at an organization in technofuturism who isn't one of those people. There's somebody in that circle who's gotten that $100,000 briefcase, or just doing it pro bono. Just I'll help fascism just for the hell of it. You won't find any tech person who isn't basically beholden to that specific operation. And they'll say, well, there's a master plan at work. The master plan is to have trillionaires and still have hundreds of millions of people living in utter misery. Is that a master plan? That's what happens when you have quantum computing upsetting industries, but you still have a capitalists in the mix in controlling the West. All right, I said I was going to talk about the idea of creating elaborate intellectual justifications for just accepting completely bad ideas. So there's a guy who's kind of influenced my thinking at a certain stage, named Frank Tipler. And I'll say, even when I was a little more favorably inclined to this sort of thing a decade ago, there's never a time when I was going to read 1,900 pages, the complete works of Frank Tipler,